on Easter. Resurrection is an act of God, unaided by human efforts, and it runs contrary to human expectations. No one, it seems, expected God to raise Jesus from death. And that's why when it happened, it generated fear, not faith, in his followers. 2,000 years later, we tell the story very differently than the way Mark wrote it. We think, like John's gospel, resurrection is ultimately a sign that proves the divinity of Jesus, whereas it's not really about Jesus. It's about God. As Christians, we think the resurrection proves our claims once and for all that Jesus was the Messiah, and we wonder how anybody in the world could doubt that after Easter. But we must realize that Jesus himself does nothing in resurrection. God does. Jesus is dead. God rolls the stone away. Jesus did not resuscitate himself. God raised him and put in his place a young man who speaks with a woman, who tells them the good news and encourages them that they can start over again in Galilee, where Jesus will be with them. The Easter story in Mark does not prove anything about Jesus' power. Instead, it tests our faith in God. It pushes us to risk believing something that sounds incredible. With no risen Christ in our face, with only the empty tomb and the messenger's words to interpret it for us, will we believe or will we not? Will we risk trusting God beyond everything that we thought was possible? Or, like the women, will we fail and flee and say nothing to anyone? That's Mark's agenda. That's the question he raises for us, Jesus' followers in our day, in his final scene. Will we risk trusting God beyond everything that we thought was possible? Or have we become so convinced that death is the final frontier beyond which there is no life, there's no further possibility? Have we become so convinced that death is the great divide across which no bridge may span, and hence no possibility of reversal, no exit, no return? Have we become so convinced that dead is dead, that the very idea expressed by the messenger of God, that he is raised, he is not here, he goes before you, and you will meet him again in Galilee, leaves us, like the men in the story, stubbornly refusing to believe? Or is there a chance that we will respond to this sudden reversal of our expectations with fear and trembling, with ecstasy and awe, just as we have at every miracle when we see God's power turning the world around? How Mark's gospel finally ends remains to be seen in us. Because God has acted to transform a tragedy into good news, bringing new life out of death. The spreading of that unbelievable good news is up to us, we who hear it and who believe it, and then go out to live it. We are an Easter people. Be not afraid, for Jesus is with us, and he goes before us. God knows you and loves you and leads you. Praise God. Amen.